Next, crazy Florida bill. Um, Florida courts could take emergency custody of kids with trans parents or siblings, even if they live in another state. So that's a little bit overdoing it. But
Ooh,
um,
I don't think I saw this one.
Florida,
I don't know if you sent this one
I
to me.
found it this morning, and
Okay.
the headline was so wild I had to click it.
Okay.
It might, and I've just barely skimmed it, so we might have one of those headlines that are over exaggerating. Senate Bill 254 would grant courts emergency custody of kids who receive gender affirming care. The bill introduced Friday would allow for the courts to modify out of state custody agreements, and the bill would grant official authority under the law that protects kids from domestic violence. So, um, court authority to take emergency custody of kids under the same statute that protects them from domestic violence and abuse. Uh, the state could take temporary custody of children if it is necessary in an emergency to protect the child because the child or a sibling or a parent of the child is at risk of being subjected to the provisions of sex reassignment prescriptions or procedures. So you just get to take the children away? It's very strange. I know this hasn't passed yet, but this is the things that are coming out of them. This is what Florida Republicans are saying they want to do.
Okay. Let's table this one so I can read the bill,
Okay,
and we'll
that
talk
is
about it next week.
totally fine because I just clicked on it real quick because of the wild headline. But that's a wild headline, and yeah, legal kidnapping. So I will write this number down, and maybe we should only talk about the things that actually pass. But I mean, uh, if you're elected and you're in charge and you start telling me what you want to do and what you want to pass, isn't that like newsworthy? Is that important? Or
Sure.
is this just virtue signaling that I should ignore? I don't know. Right. More Florida bill. Florida bill would require bloggers who write about governor to register with the state.
Okay. So the headline's a little misleading on this one. I read this bill too.
Okay.
Um, this bill, there's an additional and that sentence is also untrue.
That sentence is untrue? Okay.
That sentence is a lie.
Okay.
Um,
WFLA.com.
because
They're lying to me.
they are lying to you
Okay.
because in that bill there is an additional half of that sentence, or not half, but there are additional words to the sentence. It's any blogger that is receiving payment for the express purpose of writing about government officials has to register uh, with what the article is that they've posted and how much they're getting paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So if you are a blogger who's just throwing his opinion out there on the internet and you're not getting paid by some person or entity for it, then you like if you're not being commissioned to write about this person, then you don't have to register.
Mm-hmm. What about a YouTuber who makes $12 from YouTube and talks about uh, Ron DeSantis? Do they have to register with the
So
Florida?
my interpretation of this bill, and first of all, bloggers is like specifically defined, so it wouldn't be YouTubers. But bloggers are in the bill. It defines the a blog post as something that's written essentially on a blog website, an article or some similar thing. Excuse me. But so not YouTubers, bloggers specifically, and it's if you get paid to write a post about a specific person. So if you are a blogger that has a Patreon, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and you're receiving Patreon donations, that's still not the same thing as actively being commissioned to write an article about a particular person or a particular uh, government entity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the way I read this is it's kind of like, you know how every political ad that you see on TV, regardless of who it's for, at the end they have to say, this message paid for by, American Liberty
Hmm.
PAC or
Hmm.
whatever, right?
Hmm.
This is essentially saying, hey, if you're a blogger that's being commissioned to do articles on public officials, then you have to do that too.
First they came for the bloggers, and I said nothing because I was not a blogger.
Well, just don't take commissions to talk about specific public individuals.
Why not?
It's really easy. Or if you do take commissions,
Well,
then just follow the rules and
these rules
write
didn't
your
used to
article and
exist.
then register
Okay,
with it.
great,
And then to register it. Who paid
great.
you? I mean, this doesn't restrict anybody's speech. This is if you're a blogger
No,
who
it puts you
receives
on
a
a
commission to talk
list.
specifically about somebody.
No, it doesn't. It stops them. It gives them a hurdle and a thing to slow them down, and puts them on a list. And then when that blogger
It
who
doesn't slow
followed all the
anything down,
rules,
actually.
it,
No, you write the article first, you publish it. Now you have 5 days to register who you got paid for it, if you did get paid at all.
aha,
So that doesn't slow anything down. It just
it
means that once you do it, you have a paper to file.
right. You have a paper to file. Great. And then now the government knows more about you, and that's fine. I don't mind the government knowing things about you, but you're on a list now. They're making lists of people, and you know what the uh, Governor DeSantis is going to do once you mention something from that blogger? Hey, this blogger said that. And he's like, oh, well, he's paid by somebody something. You can't trust
Great.
him, even though the things he said are literally factual. This is going to be used as an excuse not to listen to the blogger because they're paid. This is discrediting them, honestly. And maybe they
Yes,
are saying a lot of things.
if you are paid by a specific pack or entity of some political disposition to write an article, it's obviously going to be slanted in a particular direction according to the one that was commissioning that article. So yes, you should know what the monetary backing of that article is. Who's
Hmm.
funding it? Who paid to have it written? Because that is going to influence the slant of it. It's not discrediting. It's uh, transparency.
Great. You want to do that for the government? You want to do that for PACs? I would want that for PACs more than bloggers.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but that's not going to happen because PACs have billions of dollars and bloggers have none. So the poor people have to register and account for every single fucking dime, while the giant multi-billionaire PACs don't, because money is power and they don't want to do this. That pack that you mentioned on the TV commercial comes out. Oh, paid for by blank and blank pack. Yeah, who put the money in the pack? You don't know.
Well, yes, you
Nobody
do because super
knows.
PACs donors are required to. Super
Mm,
PACs are all required to report their donors.
no.
Yes, they are. All super PACs are required by law to disclose their donors. True.
Not disclosed to voters. In the United States, some types of nonprofit organizations may spend money on campaigns without disclosing who their donors are. So if you donate millions to a PAC, you don't have to. But if you are a blogger and you make 75 bucks, you do. 501c4, often called social welfare organizations. Such organizations can receive unlimited donations from corporations, individuals, and unions. Proponents of dark money maintain its protection of the First Amendment, while critics complain recipients of dark money, as with any contribution, know exactly who he owes a favor, but voters are kept in the dark about the connections between donor and politician when favors are paid back. This will continue. This is billions of dollars being thrown around and nobody knows it. But the bloggers who criticize Ron DeSantis have to register. There are two systems. There's the system for the rich and there's the system for the poor. And the system for the poor is far more restrictive. This is going to stop bloggers. Well, it's not going to stop them. It's just going to put them on a list and it's going to scare them. It's going to scare them out of doing their job. It's going to scare them out of doing what they're doing, and it's going to open up a slippery slope where the next people are YouTubers, and then the next people are TikTokers, and then the next people are uh, news organizations. I I said nothing when they came for the bloggers because I was not a blogger, and then they came for the TikTokers, and I said nothing because I'm not a TikToker. Then they came for the YouTubers, and no one stood up for me. Like that's
All right.
exactly what's going to happen.
So really quick about super PACs, they are required by law to disclose their donors. However, they have found loopholes in order to hide donors in some cases.
Because they
So
have
yes.
lots and lots and lots of money that the bloggers don't
Well,
have.
guess what? Guess what? I have a solution.
Uh huh.
Close the loopholes, force them to disclose all their donors. Because they're currently required by law and they're using loopholes to not do it in all cases.
I agree, but Republicans won't do
Okay.
that.
Well,
You can't. You can't.
then maybe the Democrats need to do that.
Maybe they should, but they don't want to do that either. There's.
See, I'm being consistent here.
I know.
I I'm also fine with super PACs having to disclose all of their donors and closing the loopholes for them to hide them.
I know you are, but it won't
Okay.
matter. Why
So
would you
when
start
I
from the
say that
littlest guy? We
when I
have.
say that I'm okay
Uh
with
huh.
a a blog post being commissioned, but then if you do commission a blog post, then that has to be registered as a paid piece. Fine, fine. Just like you have to you know register your political uh, advertisements on TV and whatnot.
Hmm. Okay. So we're in agreement that dark money is bad, and um, if the people at the top had to register, I would be okay with that blogger registering. But why would you start with the blogger? There's, it's raining, and you're complaining about the puddle. You know, it's at the bottom.
I got you. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I do. Um, and hey, even
And
if you don't like this
yeah,
bill, guess what? It doesn't even have a sponsor in the House,
okay,
so probably not going to get passed anyway.
okay. So I'm, yeah, again, I'm freaking out over something that isn't going to pass, and I mean, it's just they keep the the Florida bills that are coming out are just nightmarish to me. What do we got? What did I click on this one for? Information dissemination. This is something else. I don't know what this is. 1316. Oh, okay, okay. Hey, a Texas bill. Let's change things up.
All right. I'm glad we're not talking about Florida anymore. Jesus.
I know. Well, they're doing their best over there. Texas GOP bill would give major tax cuts to straight, never divorced parents. If you make it to kid number 10, there's an extra reward for
Wow.
you.
Well, hey, there's one way to improve your birth rates, right?
100% of property taxes for heterosexual married couples with 10 children. That that's weird, right? Like we shouldn't be passing laws based on specific things like that, should we?
Well, this is something that has been kicked back and forth by a lot of people to combat um, our falling birth rates. So,
We have falling birth rates.
yeah, we have. I mean, we're going to end up at some point. Well, let me reword that. Yes, our birth rates are falling, and I do believe that the U.S. is currently below replacement rate.
Is that good?
No, no, it's not, because eventually you end up like Japan or China, where you're gonna be a very top heavy population with a lot of old people that can't work
Don't we already
and a
have that?
very few young people to support them.
Didn't that happen with the baby boom? I wanted to see a graph.
Well, the baby boom was a one-off event, whereas what we're talking about is a long-term.
This graph right here.
Uh, yeah, we're inducing right now with by nature of our falling birth rates a long-term uh, issue that is going to span multiple generations as opposed to the baby boom for one.
Okay, what issue is it that we're gonna have to deal with?
Too many old people and not enough young people. That's literally it.
That's it. Well, that doesn't sound like a horrible problem to me.
Well, it is because it means one of two things. Either you can't support your old people because you don't have enough young people to do it, or the old people have to continue to work until they die. Like you pay for Social Security with taxes through
Right,
work. If you don't have enough young people working, you can't pay Social Security anymore.
right, because there are only this many people working down here and this many people on Social Security, right?
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
and
So you need young people. You need to have a decent balance of young and old people in order to maintain the system that we have right now.
okay, and we can't just change the tax law to compensate.
Probably not.
We have to have people
Yes, we're going to
to
need people.
tax.
We're going to need people to produce.
Mm.
It's not just taxes, it's also production.
Mm, okay, so if there are fewer people there,
If there are fewer people producing goods or producing labor, you have less labor to tax.
right,
You have less wealth or you have less goods to tax, which means you have less tax revenue. Even if you increase the tax rate, well, you're just kicking the can down the road a
go
little
into
bit further.
right, then the government has to go into debt to cover these things,
Uh-huh.
and then
So you need young
hopefully
people.
we need people. Okay, I mean that's fine. I'm not arguing that
Okay.
we don't need any more people.
So I'm not even saying that any of this in defense of the bill
Hmm.
itself.
Hmm.
I'm saying I understand where they're trying to go with this. Okay. Birth rates are too low. We need to get them up above replacement again. Or at least to replacement.
And they're going to do that by not taxing these people. Isn't that the opposite of what we were just mentioning? If you have more people, you get a break on your taxes. But we need the people to be taxed to pay for the old people.
This is on this doesn't wipe away all of their taxes.
Okay.
This is, I believe it's actually tax credit. Let me double check this one more time. So, yeah, they get a credit off of their property taxes
Hmm.
for every child after the third,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, Now, that, I mean, property taxes are just one part of all the taxes that that family is going to be paying,
Okay.
right? I mean, if you are if you have 10 kids, you're spending a lot of money. That's going
I
to be
agree.
taxed. You have to be bringing in a lot of money. That's going
Hmm.
to be
Well,
taxed.
you don't have to. But go on. We're talking about Texas. You can live on. You could be dirt poor and have 10 kids.
Well, sure. They're not going to have a great life, though, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, and then property taxes are not that big of a deal, I don't think, to get a credit off your property taxes. And one thing I didn't catch in this bill, I was reading it last night, so maybe I missed it,
Hmm.
but does the married couple get 100% off their property taxes for life, or is it just while the children are living with them?
I'm not sure.
So that'd probably be good information to have, right? I mean,
It was just a wild ass headline that I'm trying to wrap my head around what the hell they're thinking.
well, the headline's a little misleading too. So it says GOP bill will give major tax cut to straight never divorced parents,
Hmm.
right?
I mean, that's a
So,
true statement.
mm, somewhat,
Language in the
yes.
bill defines qualifying child, natural child, um, adoptive. What constitutes a qualifying married couple, you may ask? Well, it means a man and a woman who are legally married to each other and neither of whom have ever been divorced,
Yeah.
which is a weird. Uh,
Okay.
what's the word?
So, well, I think what that's trying to do is say that a man and a woman who each had 3 kids with somebody else, and then both of them got divorced, and then they remarried. They're not immediately entitled to a 60% off property tax credit.
That's a weird virtue signal, isn't it?
Maybe. Um, and then there's the little bit about specifically straight parents. Also true, but that's because you can't. That's because homosexual couples um, are not allowed to adopt a kid in Texas. So you can disagree with that, but
It's more virtue
the
signal.
law as written is it doesn't go against any current or let's say it's in line with current Texas law.
And they've done.
You can disagree with the current law in
I don't know.
Texas.
It. Someone in chat says it seems selective and exclusionary, and I agree. It seems exclusionary to me. It seems like they're selecting the people they want to have more of. Um, I suppose that's what they're going for here. Uh, I assume that this guy's done the math and said that the taxes that the 10 children are paying, like you mentioned, the the adults are paying lots and lots of taxes by buying things, which is fine, and that offsets the property tax that they would be paying. If it's if it's it seems like a weird virtue signal that hasn't had the math done on it, and I haven't looked for the math.
Maybe. I mean, again, we'll also see if this even gets passed.
I know. Again, doesn't not gonna it might not get passed. Probably wouldn't. We have to move on from, and so that was the entire wild shit section of the stream where we discuss crazy things that might not pass.
Always the most fun part.
Yeah, it's just if I mean they get elected and then they tell us their plans, and I think the plans are nuts. And maybe the plans don't come to fruition. You may be right. Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, press the subscribe button. Uh, if you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. Um, this is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.